Hi, I want to change the world. Now, usually when I make that declaration, I'm met with snickers, or eye rolls, or downright chuckles. However, the validity of my statement remains unchanged. And from my perspective, there's no better place to lay the foundation for such changes than a college campus, because these microcosms serve as catalysts for changing social climates. Now, so as to not be misunderstood, our students are not makeshift indicators of rain showers or cloudy skies, but rather authority figures as it relates to the social and moral future of our society. In other words, if the appropriate changes are to be made in the world, improvements must be made within higher education. Many scholars agree that higher education ought to function as a tool to enhance democratic equality and improve society by ensuring student success for all. I mean, if you were to ask someone, do you want all students to be successful? They would say yes. And theoretically, we assume that student success, this political driver for institutional change, encompasses all undergraduate students. But the data tells a different story. There are systemic inequities related to educational attainment for different groups of students when you consider things like race, ethnicity, and sex. For example, some students with shared identities seem to consistently exceed institutional expectations. Other success seem to be determined by a gamble of different circumstances. And too many students with too similar identities seem to barely scrape by, if at all. One trend in particular that caught my attention was the graduation rate of racially minoritized male students on my own campus, as it was notably and disapprovingly different than that of our female and white male counterparts. You see, on my campus, in every racial and ethnic group, our male students' graduation rates are significantly lower than that of our female students. On average, our male students have a less than 50% likelihood to cross that stage of graduation. That means that for every 2 male students that you see on campus, in the student union, campus recreation center, and in the classroom, one of them won't be at commencement. But what's even more shocking is that my campus isn't alone in this. It is merely a reflection of what is happening on a national scale. In fact, the average national graduation rate for white and Asian American male students is around 50%, which is less than spectacular. However, in comparison to other underrepresented male graduation rates that are around 23%, you can see why there's a need to take action in higher education. So, noticing these trends, it led me to examine the relationship between student success and institutional effectiveness, which is a really cool way to describe higher education's decision-making system. And what I learned is that there is a reciprocal relationship between how higher education professionals make decisions and the success of our students. So, following the logic of this relationship, I found that the strategic planning process, which is a key and quite lengthy component of this decision-making system, must be influenced by theories and ideas that don't turn a blind eye to who you are, to who they are, to who I am. I then remembered that the strategic planning process is just that, a process. So I wondered if it mattered when in that process I considered using these theories and ideas. Turns out it does. The best time is during the development of objectives and strategies. It's the point before you start taking action, when you're considering what action to take, because these theories and ideas take into consideration the impact of decisions made on different identity groups. At this time, our institutions have a unique obligation and opportunity to address the current social inequities regarding student success for all. Because at the core mission of our institutions, it involves transformative, equitable opportunities, operating within a standard of excellence, and inspiring diverse communities in ways that improve society. So, if decisions, how we make them, when we make them, who makes them, can change the outcomes of our students, could this also be true in other scenarios outside of academia? I'd argue in the affirmative. Imagine a world where people and all of the itty-bitty pieces that make them who they are were considered in education, in legislation, in infrastructure, in entertainment, in sports, in public spaces, at religious gatherings, at the supermarket, during PTO meetings, and around family dinner tables. Imagine a world that considers you, a world that not only takes into account your race and gender, sexual orientation, culture, and heritage, but also things like your social battery, whether you're an early bird or a night owl, your preferred learning style, even whether you prefer salt or sugar on your grits. A world that cares about how you receive and recognize appreciation. A world that seeks to correct its wrongdoings against you in a way that matters to you. A world that doesn't force you into a predetermined mold, but instead transforms itself into what you need. What if that quirky habit you have could help us write better policies? What if accessibility accommodations just became the standard? What if who you truly are was valued in the place you call home? Whatever the case may be, imagine a world where we don't ignore pieces of ourselves or others, but instead we embrace them as factors in this metaphorical equation where we see color and shape and value. I'd surely love to see it. Now, you might be asking yourself, how do I fit into this equation? I'm just me. How can I contribute to the kind of world that you're describing? Well, lucky for us, it takes less than you think. In fact, all it takes is making decisions. Now, to help us do that, here are 3 simple steps. Step number 1, take notice. There's so much power in paying attention. We're able to see things that are out of the ordinary or peculiar or just plain interesting. My journey started because I noticed a trend. And while your something doesn't have to be on a national scale, there's still something beautiful about slowing down and taking in what's happening around you. So I encourage you to start small. Start seeking out opportunities to stay curious. Notice how the sky looks different than the last time you were outside. Take a bite of your favorite meal. Notice any different flavors? Try going around the grocery store in the opposite direction. Soon, you'll be noticing more than you think. Step number 2, ask questions. When I was a little girl, my teachers would often send me home with notes. They would say, "She's a lovely girl. She has a strong grasp of the material. She just ask too many questions. But what I realize now, even more so than I did then, is that by asking questions, I get answers. I'm able to better understand. I'm able to see barriers and opportunities, challenges and successes that litter the problems that I'm facing. By asking questions, I learned more about how the systems on my campus worked and what I could do to influence them. So I encourage you to be bold and relentless and ask the tough questions. Step number 3, get going. Unfortunately, there's no secret formula or magic potion that'll make the decision for you. That's up to you. But it's also up to you to commit to the decisions you've made and take the action necessary to see them through. So whether you've committed to institutional change or simply opening that journal you bought a few months ago, the decision is still yours. You see, you have the power to decide. So decide differently. Decide intentionally. Decide consciously. You are already a decision maker, which means that you are already a change agent. So again, I want to change the world. And I think you do too. Thank you.